Hey everybody, welcome to the first UTA Truck Talk. I'm Mike Gardecki.
And I'm Steve Bootsma.
Stay tuned for our interview with Steve Tam of ACT Research following this introduction and news. First up, why a podcast? So Steve, why are we doing a podcast?
Well, Mike, I think that it offers just yet another avenue to our many members that we can share some industry information and, of course, some internal workings of the UTA on a more consistent basis throughout the month.
Yep, I agree. And plus, we seem to feel that a lot of people, including myself, I have more time if I'm commuting somewhere to throw a podcast on than I do to take time to read the newsletter. Although I do read the newsletter, but this give me a heads up as to what I'm going to be looking at in the newsletter. So what should our listeners expect going forward?
Well, I think we're going to have some really exciting speakers coming up. As you mentioned earlier, we had Steve Tam on an interview earlier that we're going to air after this kickoff here. But I think we're going to have some speakers that are within our network, but also we're going to reach outside and try to pull some other knowledge and experience in. And of course, we want our listeners to know that we're open to suggestions. We're open to ideas. So if you happen to have somebody that you think would be good to do an interview or you would want to participate, by all means, reach out to Mike and I, and we will try to set something up for you.
And looking ahead, we're looking to turn this podcast into at least twice a month. The idea initially was to do it once a month, but with all the information people have been giving us in the background, it looks like we can move this to twice a month pretty quickly. We're pretty excited to embark on this. This is something we've been talking about for much longer than we should have, and we're finally getting this thing pedal to the metal and kicking this in gear. So hope everybody enjoys this, and stay tuned for the interview with Steve Tam afterwards. One thing I did want to say is the scholarship application is open and online. We're giving away $6,000 scholarships to VOTEC students, as in college VOTEC students who are in the diesel industry. So if you know anybody or you know of anyone who knows anyone who could use those scholarships and apply for them, please go online to do that. We're also giving away 6 traditional college scholarships as well, as we do every year. We're trying to increase the amount of scholarships that we're giving to people in the VOTEC area, as that will tend to feed back into our industry. As we all know, every shop that we have is missing or lacking mechanics and always in the hiring phase.
Good point there, Mike. Yeah, it's pretty exciting to see what the scholarship committee has done over the last number of years in conjunction with some of the other dealer groups that we have to raise funds for these different scholarships and increase the volume of them that are handed out each year.
Also, the convention registration, if you haven't noticed, is already open. So you may want to not delay in setting this one up. I had the honor of being out in San Diego in January for the board kickoff, and what a very beautiful location and hotel that we're going to stay at, with plenty to do within walking distance and lots of military displays and things that you can dig into as you're walking around and have some time.
Yeah, I would agree. There's a lot of history there, Coronado Island, just a lot of stuff to take in. So I would echo what Mike said earlier. Make sure you get registered quickly. We've had it before where we outpace what the hotel can take for registration. So I think it's going to be one you're going to want to get in early. This is going to be one of those locations that's going to be pretty desired. So.
Also, the UTA is starting reoccurring promotional opportunities. You can, for banner advertising, news banner advertising, and also for the podcast advertising. If you would like a podcast to be sponsored by your company, by all means, reach out to any of the board members or Steve and I, and we can direct you to what you need to do to get that accomplished.
Absolutely. I'm also looking at some of the other events that are coming up. We did also kick off the board nominations. Those were, that was as of Friday last week, August 1st. So make sure if you are a voting member that you read the bios and take time to vote for the new board nominations for 2026.
And we also have Topgolf coming up Thursday, September 11th. That's in Dallas, Texas. That's going to be a very awesome event. There'll also be a tie-in with Peterbilt Factory that will all tie in together, and that's going to be at the Hyatt Place in Dallas. So that's something else we have to look forward to. So if you get a chance and you're looking to go to that, please get online and register now before it sells out, as it's limited space on that one.
Right, and that tour up at Denton is always an exciting event, and there's a lot of stuff to see there. So hard to believe September 11th is right around the corner, but it's almost exactly a month away, which also leads us into our second annual TWAC fishing event. That is coming up here also. Registration is open for that event. It is September 29th through October 2nd. Very nice fishing lodge located down in Texas. You can get on, of course, the UTA website for more details, but we are actively seeking sponsorships and attendees right now. So check it out, and if it works for you, get signed up. All right, with that overview of some of the current happenings and upcoming events, we are now going to move on to our interview with Steve Tam.
Thank you guys for listening, and we hope to get some great feedback or feedback in general. We're looking forward to it. Thank you for your time and tuning in. Welcome, everybody, to UTA Truck Talk. Our first guest on UTA Truck Talk is Steve Tam of ACT Research. You can find Steve and ACT at www.actresearch.net. Again, actresearch.net. Steve is also a current UTA board member and treasurer of the UTA board. Steve, welcome to the UTA Truck Talk.
Mike, thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Okay, to move this along, let's just move into a day in the life of Steve Tam of ACT Research. Mr. Bootsma, would you like to kick off the Q&A?
Yeah, I think if we could kind of get an overview, Steve, of our just what is ACT and what, maybe give us a little history there and how long you've been with the company.
Yeah, sure. Happy to do that, Steve. So ACT Research has been around since the mid-'80s. The gentleman that started the company, Ken Veith, was a Cummins guy, and he likes to tell the story that he figured he was going to get fired someday, so he took an early retirement. And part of the work that he did in sales and marketing for Cummins was collecting what we call market indicator data from the manufacturers, the truck and trailer manufacturers. And that's stuff like sales and orders and bill and inventory, that kind of data. And so that was kind of the genesis of the company. It focused predominantly on the new truck side of the business. I started with ACT Research back in 2000, and one of the things that he was interested in learning and understanding was, is there ever a time when a trucking company that traditionally buys new trucks pivots and they look at the secondary market, look at used trucks as an alternative? And so we started trying to collect that same type of data from the used truck side of the business. So we've been doing it now for over 25 years. And it's been a very good addition to our product offering, and I think we've brought a lot of understanding and data and analysis capabilities to the industry. So it's been a good thing for sure.
Well, I know that if anyone is listening and they have any connection to the Used Truck Association, there's a lot of respect for your company and a lot of appreciation for just the information that you bring us, Steve, and your willingness to participate always in our events. You guys are kind of unique in that market space. Is there many other companies that do the used truck stats like that?
Yeah, that kind of lines into what I was just going to ask as well, Steve. Like, what other industries utilize ACT Research? Like, is there a part of the industry that we as the UTA members or what we do in our daily new and used truck sales would surprise us that you guys, who you interact with?
I don't think there are too many surprises. Let me answer Steve's question first. I don't think there's anybody in the industry that does collects the amount of data that we collect for one thing, but then presents it and analyzes it the way that we do. There are a lot of folks out there that have access to the data, but typically they have a kind of a different take on what they're trying to learn from the data and how they present it or how they, commercialize it. So yeah, it is a very thin, unique slice. So, and then Mike, as far as your question, if I think about who the customers are, specifically for the used truck data that we analyze, it really is the used truck industry that's the main user. And that's, when I say used truck industry, I mean sales folks, both, actually three, right? We look at the retail market, we look at the auction markets, and we look at the wholesale markets. So participants in any of those markets are certainly customers of ours. Not surprisingly, the lenders into the space, be they captive finance companies with the manufacturers themselves or independent lenders or banks, finance companies, anybody that's providing funding for folks who are looking to purchase used equipment. A lot of companies in that realm. Maybe one part of our customer set that could surprise some of your audience is that there are some Wall Street analysts, stock analysts that follow the used truck market. A lot of those are kind of, intersections with our new truck side of our business. But when they started seeing the type of data that we were providing and the analysis and the questions that we were answering, some of them got interested in the space as well. And so they are a pretty healthy following among the offering in the space there. There are a couple of participants in the used truck industry who are publicly traded, and so a lot of those analysts actually cover those companies. So that might be the one surprising piece. I guess the other part that might not be particularly obvious is as folks are trying to set residual values for new truck sales, we really rely very heavily on the analysis and information that we're able to glean from the used truck side of the business to help them answer those questions. So we're forecasting used truck values, and we're doing that, we're looking at a 5-year horizon. So anybody who's got a trade cycle in that kind of 3 to 5 year space, and is trying to set those kind of values or lend into that market, are very interested in what we're doing in that regard. So
I think that's a really unique point, and I think that's what, as a member of the Used Truck Association, that I've seen the value in. You're a forecaster. I mean, you guys are really, you're looking at some historical things, you're looking at some current data, but you're actually forecasting it out too. So it's not like an economist where we're getting an overview of what has transpired, but you guys are taking that and then inputting it in and talking about the future. So
exactly. Yes.
So wrapping this into, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mike.
Wrapping it into a day in Steve Tam's life, like how's your workday typically structured? Do you follow a routine? Does the nature of your role as market analysis mean each day is different? Is each day the same? Is it, how's your day structured?
Yeah. The answer to all those questions is yes. So, if I think about a typical day, I know, when I get into the office, I'm usually in around 7 in the morning. I know the first thing that I should do is kind of sit down and, put my thoughts together and, kind of have a plan for what I want to accomplish for that day. But, I'm also afflicted with the zero inboxer mentality. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but I like to keep my Microsoft Outlook email inbox as empty as I possibly can. So it's kind of like whack-a-mole or a batting cage or, whatever analogy you want to drive. So unfortunately, I usually fall into the trap of, okay, go straight to email and let's see what happens since I last checked in, and then take care of all of that stuff, and then my day will start. A lot of what we do in our line of work is driven by deadlines, publishing deadlines, or presentations or events that I'm going to participate in, or even some of the project work that we do tends to be deadline driven. And of course, you guys are no stranger to deadlines or trying to meet customer expectations. So it's not just one deadline. Usually, it's several deadlines, and then you have to figure out, okay, what's the priority? Who needs to be taken care of first? And so that's really kind of then, when I finally get down to sitting a schedule and trying to figure out what I'm doing. So, but having, everything that you need, all the data, all the inputs in the right place, really kind of dictates how my workday flows. And so a lot of the data that we depend on, comes, very routinely. It's delivered at a particular time on a particular day. But really honestly, it feels like, I've got plates spinning in the air like you used to see at the circus, right? Or my wife accuses me of, having ADHD and being on, and being on steroids, right, at the same time. So it's kind of crazy, really. It's a big juggling act. And honestly, it's not unusual for me to work on dozens of different tasks in any given day. And half the time it seems like I've got to keep going back, I get one more bit of data, one more piece of input, whatever. And you're just always revisiting and going back. There's a cartoon, Family Circus. I don't know if you're familiar with it. There was a little kid on there. His name was Billy. And that's, not only is it one of my favorite cartoons, but it also reminds me a lot of me. Billy's mom would tell him to go, complete some simple task. Go get the newspaper, right? And there'd be this black dotted line that followed him all through the house and all through the neighborhood. And, half an hour later, he shows up. He's finally got the newspaper. That's what my day often looks like. So, but I also, at the same time, I think I've got the ability to handle things as they come up. You just field stuff. You do what you have to do, right? You guys know that. You get hunkered down on a particular task. But then I'll also, like if I'm writing or doing a piece of analysis, I'll finish a sentence and then I'll go check my email. And then I'll finish a sentence and go make a phone call or take a phone call. So it never stops. It never stops. And so one of the most important attributes, I think, for my job is just organization, right? Just being able to keep track of all the different moving parts so that eventually they kind of come together like a jigsaw puzzle, I guess, and the picture starts to become clearer and clearer and clearer. And finally you put that last piece in place and ta-da, you're finished. It's good. So.
Well, you've had your work cut out for you here in the last couple of years.
Oh my gosh.
From COVID on to just tariffs and whatnot, right? I mean, I'm not sure what a normal year is anymore, Steve, but those things all factor into your projections, I'm sure.
Oh, they absolutely do. So, it's interesting when we're doing forecasting. I talk about the used truck side since that's the audience. You can. The historical data is very important. We need to know what's happened in the past. Really more important, why it happened, right? And so trying to take those pieces, Steve, that you mentioned, all those influences and variables from the outside and how they impacted the used truck industry in the past. And then you use that learning and say, okay, based on what we think we know and based on what we think is going to happen, and, it doesn't matter whether it's the economy or whether it's regulations or, there's so many different factors that can affect even the interplay between the new truck side of the business and the used truck side of the business, right? And that's kind of then, our expertise and how we do what we do is trying to read all those tea leaves and then put that forecast in place and understand what's going on. And it's not just a one and done, right? You've got to continually revisit because,
right.
Think about the last, it's been, 7 months now or 8 months now since the new administration has taken place. And the pace of change, in terms of everything that we've been dealing with over that period of time has just accelerated. It's just crazy. There's so much activity. And so trying to keep up, keep current, know what's going on, know what the implications are. And nothing's standing still, right? Okay, we're going to put a tariff on you. Okay, now the tariff is going to be this much. Okay, now we're going to pause the tariff, delay the tariff. And it's like, okay, Yeah, it makes you want to pull your hair out, right? But unfortunately, well, I've kept all my hair, but
So far, so good, huh?
So far, so good. Yeah. But boy, it is a moving target, and it's moving quickly.
So
with that,
for you guys is in Columbus, Ohio, correct? Is that
Columbus,
where
Indiana. Yeah.
Or Columbus, Indiana. I'm sorry. I always get that mixed up because we got a location by Columbus, Ohio. So I always want to say Ohio. But
Yeah.
do you go into the office every day, Steve, or you work from home?
I do. No, I'm in the office. Well, when I'm in town, I'm in office all the time. In fact, interestingly, during COVID, the way our building is laid out, I'm one of the principals in the business, and there's two others. The three of us, we're able to stay in the office the whole time. We set all the rest of our folks up so that they could work remotely. So I haven't missed a beat in the office.
I'm sure there's a lot of collaboration that goes on throughout the day then with your team and just discussions as you guys are looking at the news and just all the different happenings, huh?
Absolutely, yeah, and that's one of the nice things about having everybody back to the office. When we got the all clear sign after COVID, we brought them all back in. Now they still have the ability to work from home, and they do that occasionally. And then we do have there's 17 or 18 of us that work for the company, so a pretty small company. And 5 of those are actually remote folks. They're permanently remote. They kind of live in the Chicago, Detroit, New York area, so kind of the northern tier, I guess, if you will, of ACT Research. But yeah, we are. We use Zoom to stay connected for the kind of water cooler conversations with those remote folks. But then we also have routinely scheduled meetings to touch base on various topics as they relate to whatever kind of work we're doing or our publications. So yeah, definitely a lot of collaboration, a lot of brainstorming, a lot of commiserating.
Right. Well said.
So with your expertise in the truck market, how frequently are you asked to present analysis to clients or speak at industry events? And what's the fastest you've ever had to have a turnaround as far as getting a phone call to getting on a plane or giving a presentation?
Oh my gosh. So presentations, I think I probably average about one a week. So probably about 50 a year take.
Holy
and
moly.
That's not all traveling. Some of that's done remotely. COVID sort of changed the way a lot of us think about business. I personally prefer to be in person. I don't know if I'd really want to travel all of those trips, but to be able to physically be in the room with a group and read the room, right?
Right.
Get the feedback, get that nonverbal, feel the vibe, and have that loop of what's going on, so that you can adjust your message or whatever you've got to do to connect and to communicate and to help folks achieve whatever it is they're trying to do. So. And that, when I talk about that 50%, so, you've got industry events like conventions, like the UTA convention. I'll present at that. There are some meetings that go along with that I'll be a part of. We have, at ACT Research, we've got a couple seminars a year that we do for our customers that we bring them to Columbus, Indiana, and have a day and a half of, death by PowerPoint, basically. But, a lot of good networking at the same time. Just in a lot of private companies will hire us to come in and do market overviews or updates or kind of strategy sessions or things like that. So I participate in quite a number of those, and then webinars and conference calls and you name it. We do it all, or I guess I do. I don't do all of it, but I do it all, if that makes sense.
Totally.
Yes, capable folks here who do the same kind of stuff that I do, so it's good. And Mike, you said what's the quickest I've ever had to turn something around?
Yeah, quickest turnaround, yes.
Yeah, literally, because we do this as part of the normal part of our business. I think that probably the quickest I've ever asked to then turn something around is just a couple of days. But that's not really a heavy lift, because of the frequency of the events that we have and support, the data are always fresh. And there's always a deck.
Yeah.
The last deck was just presented, last week or yesterday or whatever. So it's just a quick matter of refreshing, and then you got to package the content right. So make it specific to the audience. It's not typically when I do a presentation, it's not a generic presentation. I don't have something that I just rubber stamp and this everybody gets the same thing. I look at who's in the audience and what it is that they're trying to learn or accomplish or understand, and try to, within the realm of what our universe looks like, customize that presentation so it speaks directly to them and what they're looking for. So, yeah.
That you meet with on a regular basis, maybe like monthly, or that employer services to kind of give them some guidance?
Yeah, we have companies like that. We've got several different arrangements. We've got folks who are on retainer, so they actually pay for that service to get updates like that. Some of them don't pay for updates like that and seem to get them anyway. So it's interesting. Our business, our revenue model, it's a subscription-based business, right, Steve? So
right.
So our customers, when they sign up, they're saying, I'd like to purchase this report or this data or this analysis, and typically it's an annual subscription. But part of the cost of or part of the price of admission is the support that comes along with whatever it is that they're purchasing it. So we encourage our customers, pick up the phone, call us, ask us questions, send me an email if you don't understand something or if you got a thought or an idea. And you guys have probably both heard me say this, but this is what we do, right? Help folks understand. And the questions that I like most are the ones that I don't have an answer to, because that way I have to go learn, right? I have to get smarter. Right. But it also helps us to understand, what the collective conscience of the industry is like. What are the people who are living this in this world on a day-to-day basis? What are they dealing with? What's new? What's changing? What's happening? And so it helps us to keep current and relevant and knowledgeable. So yeah, good stuff.
What's particularly rewarding aspect of all your experiences? Like what's something that happens on a reoccurring basis for you that you find really makes you excited to get up the next morning and go back into work and do this again?
Mike, I think I probably have two answers to that question. One is, I take no small amount of pride in being very responsive to, helping folks. And it's a lot easier today than it was, I think, when I started 25 years ago with, we've just got better access to communications. But my expectations for myself are, I'm going to get back to you with an answer to your question as soon as I practically can. And oftentimes, with me, that's within minutes of the ask. It just depends on what's going on, right? Now, the first contact, I might not always have the answer or, be able to provide you what you're looking for, but I'm sure as heck going to acknowledge that you've asked the question and that I'm on the case, right? That I'm going to get you an answer and try to give you an expectation of when, you're going to get that response. So I think keeping my customers informed in that regard is probably key. The second answer that I would have, it kind of goes along the lines of, what I mentioned before about not knowing an answer. I'm going to make stuff up and tell you something that isn't true, but I'm also going to tell you that I don't know the answer to that question. I'm going to go find it for you and I'm going to get it back to you as quickly as I possibly can. And typically, with that same, hopefully, lightning or blazing speed. So.
Well, I can attest to that because I was sending you questions while you were on vacation and you were getting back to me pretty fast, which exactly. I feel terrible for. I apologize for that, but
I was thinking
thank
the same
thing.
Yeah, you probably noticed that I did not set an out of office message when I was on vacation. So it's like, that's the first time I've ever taken 2 weeks off, and I kind of felt guilty about it. But at the same time, you got to keep all those plates in the air and keep them spinning. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So how do you manage your your work-life balance? Because I know you travel a lot. And again, I know you're just on vacation, but is there any particular time of the year that's more stressful for you and your family for your traveling and things like that?
Well, so after having been at this for 25 years, one of the things that we do is, when we plan trips, look at the schedule, and there are holes in the schedule. Now, there's not a 2-week hole in the schedule like we did this last time, but the calendar worked out pretty favorably for us. So a couple of things, I guess. One is I have developed over that period of time a pretty good intuition, I guess, to kind of compartmentalize work life and personal lives. So, my wife is always really leery about me, doing work while we're on vacation. And so I'm like, okay, kind of like communicating with your customers. Honey, here are, 1, 2, 3 things that I absolutely have to do while we're on vacation. So set that expectation and manage to it, right? But then, don't get caught on your phone checking your email when you're at dinner.
Right.
I'm guilty of that way too many times.
Yeah, you remember what was the Robin Williams vacation movie where he rented? It was RV. Oh, for crying out loud, it was RV. So he had some big presentation due, and so he's sneaking off to the bathroom, working on his presentation, hiding from his wife. I can't do that. Wife and I are going to celebrate our 40th anniversary in January, so honest, open communication.
Congratulations.
Is key to that celebration. So,
very awesome.
Yeah, but it's just, it's a balance, right? And there are times, unfortunately, on both ends of the spectrum where, work is going to have to wait because I've got something personal going on, or vice versa. And, as long as you're open and upfront with folks about that and they understand what's going on, it has not been a problem. So.
Very awesome. Well, I think we're going to try to wrap this up. Is Mr. Bootsma or Mr. Tam, if there's anything else you want to ask or add into this, please do so at this point. And after that, we can wrap this all up if anyone's got anything.
Yeah.
Steve, any other things you want to share about the company? Just a little bit maybe that we didn't get into earlier.
Well, very similar, to what we do on the used truck side. We do a lot more on the new truck side. We're forecasting production and sales on the new truck side. We do a lot. We collect and forecast. We collect just a scat of economic data, and we're also, we're forecasting the economy, the freight markets. Again, great data flows as far as what's happening in the freight markets, and we're forecasting those. So really, we're an analysis and forecasting company. That's the core of our business. And I hope the fact that we've been around since the mid '80s is a testament to the quality of product and forecasts that we offer. But B, if there's anybody that's in the industry that has a need for those services and they're not a customer, www.actresearch.net, as Mike said at the beginning of the presentation, is the place to go. So.
Right. And I think those things that you just mentioned there, whether it be the freight market or the OEMs and the new production side and what they're seeing there, that has such an impact on us in the used truck world. So again, I just think it's so encompassing what you guys are active in and what knowledge you're extruding from the market. It makes you very effective.
To add to that, even seeing what you guys do in other industry, or not other industry, but other news articles and stuff like that from around our industry, be it transportation topics, whatever it is, it's always pretty cool to see those, because I know Steve Tam and I talk to Steve Tam and he presents to us. So it's pretty cool seeing that out across the rest of our industry.
Yep. Yeah, it's our founder was for years just wouldn't have anything to do with the media or any kind of public relations, and it was kind of a stealth marketing effort, right? And so at some point along the way, he's like, well, maybe this is, not such a bad thing. And, now you see the results of that. So, yeah.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Steve Tam, for taking time out of your busy day to talk with us. This is Mike Gardecki and Steve Bootsma for UTA Truck Talk, and please stay tuned for our next podcast and our guest. We will announce that on the UTA.org website probably within a week. Again, thank you both for your time, and hope you both have a great day.
You're welcome, Mike. Thank you. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Mike.